Tuesday Drive with Stephen.
Now, as we know at this stage, the Sydney Harbour fireworks are still going ahead, but some local fireworks have been cancelled this evening, including Huskisson, Berry and Kangaroo Valley, and we're still trying to get official word whether or not the fireworks have been cancelled in Nowra this evening. In a recent Cosmos magazine article, the question of fireworks, especially in our current bushfire situation, has been raised. Joining me on Tuesday Drive is Dr. Nathan Killer, who's a senior lecturer in chemistry at the University of Tasmania, and he joins me now all the way from the Apple Isle. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, I've got to ask, I understand that there has been some bushfires down there in Tasmania. How's it been down there for you?
Yeah, yesterday was a bit of a nightmare day. I mean, we had high heat, as you've had in New South Wales, but yes, a number of bushfires. We're very lucky to not have many more after dry lightning storms came through last night. And
are you situated at Launceston or Hobart?
I work in Hobart, but I live a little bit outside.
Oh, has there been much smoke haze around the city at the moment?
No, today's fine. Today's a lovely day.
And that's how we know Tasmania, just beautiful, crisp, clean air. Look, Dr. Killer, fireworks, there's no denying that they've been entertaining people for years and years. Where did they all start from?
Well, the fireworks go back a long way. I mean, the first fireworks were produced in China using gunpowder.
Right.
And that sort of came from an unusual place in that the alchemists that put together gunpowder weren't really looking for something to explode or something to fire projectiles. They're actually looking for elixirs of life.
Oh.
So the first efforts that were made were using things like honey, potassium nitrate, which is also known as saltpeter, and sulfur. And they'd mix this stuff together and put it onto the skin to sort of treat fungal infections or other, topical wounds. But they found if they heated this stuff in a fire, it would erupt into flames, quite unpredictably.
Mm.
Over time, the honey in that mixture was replaced with charcoal, and very soon they got to the gunpowder, which is very much like what we have today in modern pyrotechnics.
So during this time, and it was the elixir of life, did they suddenly think to themselves, hang on, we're onto something here, we can use this for a celebration? Well,
I think, I actually... don't quote me on whether it's the fireworks or the warfare applications that were exploited first. So those sort of have gone alongside one another, and spread equally, I suppose, with the gunpowder.
So from back then to today, has the way fireworks sort of work, has it changed much?
I mean, the basic principles are still very much the same. We have a fuel, which is the carbon. We have an oxidizing agent, which is typically potassium nitrate, and the sulfur, which sort of helps it all burn together. And then the extra bits that are added that perhaps are more modern are around things like color, so putting in metal salts or even just chunks of metal that burn to give off particular colors, through to, I guess, the far more modern things like screeching or squealing, whistles, and sort of crackling effects as well. But really, at their heart, they're very much as they were a long time ago.
So you just mentioned just before about colour. Did you say we're burning metals to create colour?
Yeah, so when we have things like, and we can keep it really simple, with things like sparklers, the little sparks that you see flying off are small pieces of metal. So that's, say, iron filings for a gold colour, or aluminium or magnesium for sort of bright white colours. That are burning in the air, and as they burn, they give off that really bright light that we see for our fireworks. The colours, so they're the sort of burning metals. The colours that we see, so the reds, the greens, the blues, they arise from the different salts that are in the mixtures. So if you've ever seen a red firework in the sky, the red colour is coming from strontium metal, which is excited by the heat of the burning gunpowder to give that brilliant colour.
And what about the noise that fireworks make? Because they're damn loud at the best of times.
That's right. So, I mean, they are fundamentally exploding. So in the middle of the firework, if we think about a shell that might be at a professional display, there's something called a bursting charge in the middle. And it detonates at a supersonic speed, so it's an explosion. So you really do get that shock wave of the explosion as the shell is torn apart.
Now, I'm very interested to know about the patterns that we see in the sky. I mean, how do they work that and the fact that, all this time that it's just constantly changing.
Yeah, so it comes down to how the firework is physically put together.
Right.
So if I focus on a shell, if you think of something sort of cricket ball or softball size, that's a fairly small shell. Inside of that will be small pellets, so say the size of Jaffas up to maybe golf balls, depending on how big you go. And they're composed of gunpowder mixed in with any of the metals or other coloured materials. And as the firework is made, the bursting charge is in the middle, and those little pellets are packed around the outside. And depending on how they're packed, when the firework explodes, that's how you're going to get the pattern that you see.
Hmm.
So if you put them in a star shape, you might get a star-shaped firework. If you put them in a ring, you get a ring. But you can have a number of shapes and colours depending on whether they give sparkling trails. So there's really very creative options that are available to pyrotechnicians.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned pyrotechnician, because I was reading the article and I saw that apparently there's a bit of an old joke that that the pyrotechnician has on the back of his T-shirt. If you see me running, try to keep up.
That's right. How
close to reality is this joke?
Oh, look, fireworks are absolutely dangerous things. They cause many injuries around the world. In Australia, for the most part, except in a couple of states and territories, they are very much restricted to professionals, and there's really, really good reasons for that. They are absolutely dangerous. Now, obviously, we're talking in the side of the sort of bushfire events crisis that's going on, but just on a personal level where people can injure themselves, blow off body parts, blind themselves. They are absolutely dangerous things, and the professionals can get it wrong too. So in the article, I make reference to a display in San Diego where they let off about 17,000 fireworks in the space of 30 seconds.
Wow.
So things can go wrong, and when they go wrong, they can go really wrong.
I know we've seen some footage before on the news at night. It must be just frightening, not knowing where to run.
Well, I mean, where the crowd were positioned should be fine, but I think just the ferocity of such an intense display performed so quickly would be quite a thing to see.
Now, just before you did mention about the bushfires, and of course we've seen the controversy around fireworks. I know we don't want to delve into the politics too much on the show this afternoon, but what's your view about fireworks displays during these extraordinary times of bushfires?
Yes, so I have put on, as part of my role, one of the reasons I'm interested in this is I put on shows in lecture theatres, so I get members of the public in. We show individual components, reactions of the fireworks, and then we go down to one of our fields at the university here, and professional pyrotechnicians set off the fireworks. Mm. To be able to do that takes an enormous amount of risk assessment, permits, clearances, insurance, so they are absolutely need to be controlled. There is no question in my mind that if there is a total fire ban, there are no fireworks.
Right.
It's a really simple equation. Now, it's a complicated one. In Sydney, they've kept it because they've got an exemption for the fireworks this evening. And look, I think it's about risk management. If you're setting off fireworks over water, it's perhaps not a problem. The question is then more about the optics of how that looks, as you say, in the political conversation.
Will there be fireworks on Tasman Bridge this evening?
I don't know about the bridge, but there certainly will be some on the River Derwent tonight.
Oh, okay. I've often wondered where the fireworks come from, so it's actually not the bridge.
Not to my knowledge. So we have a festival down here called the Taste of Tasmania, and the fireworks tend to be fairly close to that event.
And how are you spending your New Year's Eve in Hobart?
Well, I'm a pretty boring character. I'll be tucked up in bed. I'll be asleep by the time midnight rolls around.
Oh, you party pooper.
Two young kids will be getting me up nice and early.
Yes, the start of the new decade. No, that's right. Well, Dr. Killer, thank you so much for joining me on Tuesday Drive, and all the very best for 2020.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
Thank you. That was Dr. Nathan Killer, a senior lecturer in chemistry at the University of Tasmania. And if you'd like to find out more, you can find it in the latest edition of Cosmos. And wasn't that interesting about how the patterns are created with fireworks? I actually had absolutely no idea. It's 5:45. This is Case Farrar from Justice Crew. Good afternoon.
At the end of the day, son. Tuesday Drive with Stephen.